Hi, everyone. Mike White here. Welcome to this week's blog post. We're getting a lot of really interesting information and observations and reports out there. And I just wanted to go over something that I think is really important for us to kind of wrap our minds around when we're listening to a lot of the commentary and a lot of the information or supposed information or opinions coming from the media and even associations or government agencies. And so today I titled the conversation that we're having the fear versus the math. Sometimes people allow fear to actually prevent the reality in their lives. And sometimes they allow that fear to paralyze them into inaction or into accepting a belief that may not be founded in any type of reality, and certainly not put themselves in a position to even question whether the information or the opinion or the likelihood of what people are saying is true, and how that may impact them. And it becomes something that they sometimes never realize that there's actually nothing to be afraid of, and potentially even an opportunity based upon the information that's out there to do something that's beneficial. And so we're seeing a lot of people starting to discuss the fact that there's a whole dialogue of potentially 2.7 million homes going into foreclosure due to the expiration of forbearance. And this information even grabbed the government because they have no idea whether this information is true. They have no idea of the situation that they created. They have no idea about the numbers. They do have the ability to be afraid of what would happen with these foreclosures because the government adopted a not very well thought out policy, if you ask me. And so they've decided to do what governments always do: kick the can down the road for another 6 months and kind of just wait around to see what happens. So I just wanted to take some time and look at all the different information and the stories that are coming out between government agencies and the National Association of Realtors and the Mortgage Bankers Association, and start looking at this stuff just again from a perspective, not saying it's right or it's wrong, just putting information out there for you to kind of wrap your mind around, and maybe do some of your own research, or maybe think about what's happening, and if the situations that are being posed are actually something that we need to deal with all this fear or be afraid of, and maybe something to help you with your referral partners and your clients. So we do some math, and the National Association of Realtors says that this is a very robust market. There are many more buyers than there are sellers. And they say that they would like to have more inventory. If they had more inventory, they could sell more houses, which would make for even a bigger record breaking year than we even had last year, which was a record breaking year. For those of you who may not know, 2020, we sold more houses in 2020 than we have at any time since 2006. So think about that and say, wait a minute, let's wrap my mind around those number of houses. And they estimate again about 2.8 million residential sales took place last year. And they say right now they'd sell even more houses if they had more inventory. And that they would like, quote unquote, inventory as they measure it to be about 5 or 6 months worth of homes available on the market that are listed, so that that market would be average or comfortable or normal or whatever adjectives you'd like to use. So they're looking to have an inventory of homes. Now, if you do some quick math, if we sold 6.8 million units last year, that's about 560,000 units a month. And again, we just have to wrap our minds around what the numbers really look like, and say, well, if we're looking for inventory, that's 560,000 a month. We'd need 2.8 million houses to meet that inventory demand that the Real Estate uh, National Association of Realtors says that they would like. So think about this. We're worried about 2.7 million homes potentially going into foreclosure because of the expiration of forbearance. But they need an estimated 2.8 million homes in quote unquote inventory to more normalize the market and make them feel good. So I'm trying to figure this out and say, well, first of all, we look at a couple of things that if there are 2.7 million houses that are on the verge of going into foreclosure, I'm trying to wrap my mind around it and say, wouldn't they just either sell their house, because I can't identify many markets where home prices have not gone up over the last few years. So if these people in the last year and given the rise in values, why wouldn't they just sell the house and pay off the loan and what they owe and move on? Again, why wouldn't they either pay the balance? And again, if they've been home and they haven't been paying their loan, they've got a number of reasons, but they've been collecting unemployment and they've been collecting the federal unemployment benefit, and they've been given all this stimulus money. And in some cases and in some states, many people who have not chosen to go back to work have not chosen to go back to work, not because there wasn't a job. It's because they're actually taking home more money a week on unemployment and federal subsidies than they were when they were working. So if why couldn't they have been paying their loan, or what did they do with the money? And in either case, wouldn't they just refinance their house or sell the house and take the profit, or renegotiate their existing loan before ever even going to foreclosure? And once again, if they did go to foreclosure, given the number of buyers that are available in this market, and given this market, and given the National Association of Realtors complaint that there's not enough inventory, wouldn't 2.7 million houses coming into the market go to satiate the demand that the National Association of Realtors says they need for that inventory of 5 to 6 months to create a more normal market? So I'm really, disappointed that people aren't working this through. And I get it. The bigger picture here is, you know, nobody fully explained. And many of the people who are facing these challenges with forbearance fully didn't understand what they were doing when they went into this forbearance agreement, because they were just told, hey, if you do this or you check that, you just can stop paying your loan. And let's be honest, there are many millions of renters out there who are doing the same thing to landlords. They get kicked out, and those properties can't be re-rented to people who will actually pay, because the government just said, without really thinking it through, you don't have to pay. So the reality of all this is first of all, maybe there are 2.7 million homes out there that are potentially going to go into forbearance. But again, I mean, not forbearance, but go into foreclosure. But again, why wouldn't they just pay what they owe? If they can't pay what they owe, why wouldn't they refinance or extend and modify their existing agreement? If they can't extend and modify their existing agreement due to other circumstances, given price appreciations over the last few years, why in God's green earth wouldn't they just sell the house, satisfy their note, and at least put some money in their pocket? Again, these are things that we have to be looking at and asking ourselves, because we create, these things create fear in the marketplace. And a lot of times, unfortunately, government agencies and social media and the mainstream media in general, they're not your friends when they put headlines and write articles and share stories that are very biased and one-sided. Yes, forbearance is a very unfortunate situation for everybody. Lenders didn't get their money, servicers didn't get their money, taxes didn't get paid, insurance didn't get paid. A lot of people were put at risk. Some people are going to lose their homes because nobody fully explained to them what was really happening, and that the quote unquote convenience of just not paying their loan was going to turn out to be a nightmare. But the reality of this is, regardless of the situation, If every one of these houses went bad, if every one of these houses couldn't be worked out, most of them would get sold long before they'd ever go into foreclosure. And if they did go into foreclosure, so what? They go into foreclosure and they'll get sold because, according to the National Association of Realtors, there's a need for 2.8 million houses to get their inventory levels back to where they consider to be normal in what have been record breaking sales. So let's take a look at the math. Let's pay attention to the situation. Let's step away from the fear and look at this conversation, because unfortunately, many people don't do these things. They don't do their research. They don't analyze the situation before going down a path. And it can have unfortunate consequences. So 6 months from now, who knows what they're going to do with forbearance. For now, they just kick the can down the road again. But don't you kick the can down the road. Don't buy into the fear. Do some math. Again, pull up your own numbers. Google search some of these statistics. Look at what these things really are. Pull out your calculator and a pen and a pad and run the numbers and see for yourself. Your market may be different than a lot of other places, but what have your appreciation rates have been over the last 3-4 years? What is the real inventory need in your market? How many buyers are you seeing making offers on each house? 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, whatever it is. There is a buyer's need. If those houses became on the market, it's not like it's adding to a glut and creating a depression in the housing market. It's only satisfying a need for people interested in buying homes. As always, you can reach me, Mike, imtcoaching.com. Hope to talk to you again next week. Take care.